The feedback they gave was really great. I did appreciate the advice that they provided too, and they it reassured me that this 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 isn't gonna be that bad.
Mhm. What's not
I'm
going to be
glad we got to go through it.
what's not going to be that bad?
The internship, I guess, for some of us, um, the internship part could be really scary,
Hmm.
and I guess with the interview, with the feedback you get from the people that were in the breakout room, it like could put you a little bit at ease, especially when it comes to the future of your internship.
Absolutely, absolutely, Moses. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I definitely think many of us feel nervous about internship coming up, but hopefully meeting the volunteers today and realizing, hey, you know what? They're regular people just like I am. Helps you feel like you're at ease. Like I'll be working with folks like this, and it's not as scary or as intimidating as I might have thought. Thanks, Moses. What about you, Ashley Ross?
I had mine today at 9:30, and I was
Hmm.
so nervous. They were running behind, so like I was in the waiting room, and that added to my anxiety.
Yeah.
But there was 7 people in the room, and they all gave me good feedback on how I can do better next time. The
Hmm.
feedback was for my visuals.
Okay.
So I'm gonna fix that and then see how it goes. If I ever present this ever again. So
Sure.
yeah.
Great. Well, it's good to get that feedback. I mean, what a gift, right? To know how you can improve for next time. Excellent. Thanks, Ashley Ross. Any other comments about your career readiness internship before we jump into today's class? All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. First order of business is thank you to Ashley Ross, David Torres, and Mohammed. They are our Excel mavens for this week, so we can go ahead and give them a round of applause. They are going to be available to help us with our Excel work this week, tutoring and helping out with breakout rooms and all that good stuff. So before we jump into Excel, one of the questions that not questions, but one of the areas of conversation that people wanted to discuss was how do you stand out in the digital workforce? And I actually took this one on myself, so I've created a short presentation. We can go ahead and share my screen. And this one particular topic is very important to me because when I started a year up in August, I started off as a remote employee. So I've actually never been to the Europe office. I've never met any of my colleagues, Vanessa, Kachun, Sky, Kara, Sadea, Malik. I've never met any of them in person once, which is pretty incredible. So I've really had to stand out digitally. I really had to build my own personal brand within the Europe organization without having to ever be in a physical office with anybody. So here is just some things that I want to share with you that have helped me, and I'm sure will help you, which I think is so important because a lot of you, your internship will be remote. And for some of you in this room, I firmly believe this, and I could be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times in my life, but I firmly believe that some of you in this room will probably never go to an office your whole entire career. You'll always work remote. You'll always work from your apartment or your home, and it's important for you to stand out digitally. So kind of like this panda, panda costume, we wouldn't be like this panda in our work life, right? The worst thing that can happen is that we just sort of disappear in the ambiguity of work digitally, that people are like, hey, who's Ashley Ross again? Who's Manny Garfias again? Who's Eric Palmer again? Who's Eric Hoke again? We don't want to do that. We want to stand out digitally. So the very first thing I want to really encourage you to do is make sure that you have a really good remote setup. So here's a picture of my setup. I know you can't see this, you just see me talking. But what do I have here? I have a webcam. So as you can see, I'm looking directly at eye level with my webcam. I can share with you a little bit later what it would look like if I used my laptop as a webcam. It would not look nearly as good. So you want to have a webcam that's, nice, high end, because here's the reality. Like, this is your way of having presence with people. digitally by looking at them in the eye, like I'm doing right now, is so important because it's like having a conversation with them. And the webcams that come with laptops, to be honest, they're cheap. They're not very well developed. They're just not the best. Headphones with a microphone. I bought mine that I have right here on Amazon, $50. But I sound good. I also look good because of the webcam. As you can see on the left, I have my ring light. I don't always use it. I'm not using it right now, but in the event that it's a cloudy day outside or it's dark or the natural light of the room is not looking ideal, I do that. I have a dual monitor. As you can see here, it's good to have two screens. This is really helpful with Zoom because when I'm giving a presentation, I can have the presentation in front of me on the top monitor and I can look at my notes on the bottom monitor. And I also wear blue light glasses. That's what I'm wearing right now because right now, a day like today, I'll be on Zoom for about 7 hours, and staring at a screen for 7 hours, especially when you get a little bit older like I am, is not good for your eyes. It can cause headaches, it can cause strain and all that good stuff. And you can make fun of my Steelers Nation banner in the back because they lost last night, which makes me very sad. So now you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, $385 for all that equipment. I don't have that kind of stuff to spend. But I'm just gonna, make some of you feel really bad for a second, not because I want to hurt your feelings, but because I love you. But think about it like this. You could spend $385 and have a really nice setup, or you can spend $500 on an Xbox. Is that what that is, or a PlayStation 5 or whatever that is? That's a lot of money. Thank you. You can spend $500 on a PlayStation that really is not going to benefit your life whatsoever. It might be fun, it might help you pass the time, but on the left, having a really nice setup costs less than a brand new PlayStation does. And that's going to help you improve and stand out digitally. So what's more important? You can make that judgment call. What's more important, having fun playing a video game or standing out in your career? Just some food for thought. If you think this last slide, that's way too much money, I would never spend that much money on a professional setup. But then we look at this $500 system, if you're lucky, and we think, oh, no big deal, I have to spend money for that. Well, what's more important, your career or having fun? And like I said, that's for you to decide. A few simple ways that you can have touch points with people. One thing that I really encourage people to do is called virtual coffee. I have a few colleagues at Year Up that I have virtual coffee with, 15 minutes, 30 minutes max on their calendar. And I mean, no agenda, just getting to know one another. I always come with questions, at least 3 questions I want to ask them about their role, how they got to their role. So that's an important thing to do. For those of you who know what Slack is a messaging platform that we use here at Year Up. And we actually have one for our LCM staff. So myself and everybody else who's in the LCM, we have one for the academic team as well. And I'll just go on there about once a day or once every 2 days. How's everybody's weekend? Everybody's staying dry today. It's raining. What are you guys having for lunch today? Here's a cute picture of my kids. Like just little things like that might seem silly, but it goes a long way because it's a reminder. Oh man, Eric is here. He's part of our team. He's engaged with what's going on. And the last thing is email kudos. This is one of the things that some of you in this room are really good at. And some of you in this room can improve on. But when something really good happens at work, do you email people and say, hey, I just want to let you know you really hit the ball out of the park with this project. Hey, you really went above and beyond to get this deliverable done. And I just want you to know that I noticed that. And doing little things like that, it takes 1 minute, 2 minutes max, really goes a long way. Because you don't have in the digital workspace, you don't have that water cooler talk. You can't just go to the kitchen and say, oh, by the way, David, you did a great job on your internship readiness presentation. Nice work. Like you just don't have those touch points like you would in a digital space. So having, taking that time, emailing, you did great in this area, helps you stay front of mind for people. So these are 3 different ways. So virtual coffees, messagings on Slack, email kudos. The other thing too is I really emphasize this is over communicate what you're doing, over communicate your accomplishments. I actually keep a folder on my desktop called kudos. And every single time I get an email from a student thanking me for something, every single time I have a conversation with a colleague that's positive, I write it down in that folder. And then when it comes time for my quarterly review, they say, hey, what happened in the last 3 months? Well, let me tell you, boom, 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 boom. I can list out everything that happened in the last 3 months in a matter of seconds. Because here's the thing is like my boss, like she can't see what I'm doing every single day. Like she doesn't see the conversations I'm having. She doesn't see the work that I'm doing because she's in Hawaii and I'm here in the Bronx, right? And we see each other a couple times in meetings and stuff like this. But by and large, like, you know, my work is invisible to my boss. It's invisible to her boss. It's invisible to her boss. And up the chain it goes. So how do I communicate what I'm doing and how I'm being effective? Is keep a folder on your desktop and just put things in there all the time, organize them. So when it comes time to your quarterly review or your year-end review and you're bargaining for a raise, well, why do you deserve a raise? Because these are all the things I did this past year. It's like, oh, wow, okay, you've done a lot. As opposed to, well, I'm a nice person, so give me a raise. Well, that's not gonna go very far in corporate America. They wanna see what you've done, what you've accomplished. The very last thing, and this is important to really hit the nail on the head, no one's gonna wear the panda suit for you, all right? Nobody's going to be your ambassador in the digital space. Nobody's going to push you forward to give you exposure. You have to do those things yourself. You have to be the person that says, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to, you know, look good on camera. I'm going to sound good on camera. I'm going to engage in Slack. I'm going to engage on email. I'm going to keep a list of my accomplishments, and I'm going to put my best foot forward so that I can stand out digitally. It takes concerted effort. You know, in a physical workspace, you have natural rhythms and spaces for you to stand out and to show your ability, but digitally you don't. So you have to make an effort to do so. So that concludes my presentation. We'll go ahead and move to a Q&A time now. David, I saw your hand was up. What's your question, David?
Thanks, Eric. So how often is the virtual coffee? Because I've been looking into that, but I can never seem to find like any links or anything to it.
Yeah. So typically, like a virtual coffee, you'll have with somebody just one time. All right. So let's suppose like you know somebody that has a role that you aspire to have down the road. You say to this person, hey, I'd love to have a virtual coffee with you. Typically, those are not ongoing. Like they're not every month, they're not every 2 months, they're not every quarter. Typically, they're just one time. But there's two things I would encourage you to do to really maximize on those virtual coffees. You should end every virtual coffee with, I really enjoyed being together. Is there anybody else in your network that you think I could benefit from speaking to? And you should always ask that question. You should always ask that question to say, hey, I really appreciate this, this time. Who else do you know that could benefit from us meeting together? That should be the first thing that you should do. And the second thing you should do is like, hey, listen, I know you have a lot going on. Is it okay if I email you occasionally questions I might have regarding, my role? And they're almost always going to say yes to that. But here's the thing, most people are not going to have the capacity to meet with you once a month or once a week or whatever for virtual coffee. Most people, they can do it one time, 30 minutes, and that's about the max they can do. So is that helpful?
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
You're welcome. Any other questions about how to stand out digitally? Yeah, Ashley Ross.
Thanks for the presentation, Eric. It was awesome. I love the visuals on it.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, you touched on how to stand out, personally, but how would you do that like in a room with a lot of people?
Yeah, really great question, Ashley Ross. I think the biggest thing is that it to work to your advantage. Like for example, there's 27 people in this room right now, and it looks like about 10 or 11 of us are on camera. So those 10 or 11 of us on camera are going to stand out more than those who aren't. Engaging the chat box with appropriate comments is another good way to do that. Raising hands, asking questions, following up, in that way is very helpful. Oh, by the way, I forgot before. Those are some things you can do, Ashley. That's what I'm saying. Being the first person to raise your hand with a question, engaging with the chat box, appropriate comments, being on camera if you're able. These are all different ways you can really help stand out in a virtual meeting. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I have a 4 p.m. meeting today for our all staff at Year Up. There'll probably be about 100 people. And I'm going to be off camera because honestly, I'll be on Zoom for, at that point, 7 hours. So I'm going to be off camera and I'm going to have my feet kicked up. I'll probably be eating like a snack because I'll be so tired. So like you have to kind of pick and choose one of the times that you have to be on camera versus not. So by the way, let me just show you this. As you can see my screen now, what I look like with my expensive webcam on. Let me show you guys what it will look like if I did my year up webcam. So you guys ready? So you see like not nearly as good of a look, right? Like double chin, just not a good look, right? Let me go back before I keep embarrassing myself. So, and that's how a lot of people do it. They like have like their camera looking up at them. Yeah, it's not very flattering for most people. You want to have your camera at eye level. So yeah, big difference for sure. So to me, if the first thing you should buy is a webcam, the second thing you should buy is headphones with a mic. And the third thing you should probably consider is a ring light. And like I said, I know it's expensive, but this is your opportunity to stand out digitally. So it really goes a long way. All right. Any other questions for standing out digitally before we jump into today's class? I just want to attenuate my beard. Okay, I hear that, Raul. By the way, I like your shirt. Vocab word alert. Yeah, better lighting. I mean, these are all things that we can just do to improve. Green screens help as well, but this is just ways to stand out digitally. All right, let me pull up today's lesson. Let me do this. All right, so you should have watched a video this past week on macros. If you did, then this should all just be a review to you. If you did not, then you're gonna struggle in today's class. I'll just be honest. So hopefully you watched the videos. And by the way, if you want to go off camera now because we're just looking at the screen, feel free to. That's totally allowed. But I want you to first of all start off with this. Who can raise their hand? Tell me what a macro is. Let's start in the very, very basics, so we all are on the same page. What is a macro in Excel? And no, it's not a way of eating like bodybuilders do. That's a different kind of macro. Nobody got that joke. It's okay. Anybody can raise their hand, tell us what a macro is. Oh man, did nobody watch the video? You guys are breaking my heart. All right, Mahmoud, what is a macro in Excel?
So I don't fully have a grasp on it, but a macro is basically sort of like programming in Excel where you do some bits of code that you're able to run. That's what I got the gist of.
Thank you so much, Mahmoud. Yeah, that's part of it for sure. So macro is essentially a tool that you can utilize within Excel for a task that you do repeatedly. All right, so I want you to imagine for a moment, you see this data set. You see the customer's names. It's kind of hard to read, like Jessica Simpson on A9. The balance due, you can, some owe zero, some owe a little bit of money. Imagine you receive this data set and you have to sort through it. It's just not very clean, not very well formatted. Now look at it this way. A lot easier to look at in this format because you can see everyone's first and last name. You can see how much people are owed by being highlighted in red. So super helpful. Now imagine if every single week you're working in a position where you receive this data set from your your point of sale or whatever tool that you use, and every single week you have to organize it like this. All right, so this would be pretty time consuming, wouldn't it? To go through and copy and paste first and last name, and to go through and to do the conditional formatting. And it's only 11 names, but if you did it every single week, it would get pretty old. So what you would do is you would create a macro so that it would do the job for you. So first order of business, if you have not already, go ahead and pull up your Excel spreadsheet. And does anybody recall what you need to do if you do not have the developer link up here at the top of your ribbon? Anyone want to raise your hand and explain how you get that for those who don't have it? Yeah, Jesus, how do you, I'm going to give you control of your hand went down, Jesus. Did you want to answer or no?
Yes, Eric, I would like to answer.
All right, I'm gonna give you the remote and I want you to explain to us how to do it. Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right, so imagine that Jesus pulls up his Excel sheet. He doesn't have the developer tab, so he can't record a macro. All right, Jesus, explain to us what to do for those of us who haven't done it yet.
All right, so first off, you click on File in the ribbon. Okay. Then you click on Account.
Actually, you're gonna click on Options. All the way to the bottom left.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not.
You're not
I
able
don't
to
think
see it.
so, no.
Oh, it's all right. I'll go ahead and move the mouse over. So options. All right. So then we go to where here, Jesus, to recall.
Yeah, you would have to click on. I believe it is. Let's see here. If it's advanced or if it's not advanced, then it would have to be customized ribbon, I believe.
Yep, you got it. So you hit customize ribbon and you should get a screen that looks like this. All right.
And then you would click on the developer. Yeah, click on
Yep.
developer and then press OK.
Yep, that's it. So right here, developer, see mine's already clicked. And then you click, make sure that is clicked on your screen. Then you hit OK. Thanks, Jesus.
Thank you, Eric.
So once again, for those of you who didn't get it the first time, File, Options, Customize Ribbon, Developer, OK. All right. And then as Chelsea says, you can also view, and there should be a button where you can record macros as well. So that I'm not sure if that's an option or not, but maybe that works as well. So now you see developer up here. All right, so like Mahmoud says, it's almost like you're writing your own code for what you want Excel to do for you. Thankfully, it's not as complicated as writing code. It's actually pretty straightforward. So what you're going to do is you're going to do what's called recording a macro. All right, so what this means is, like I said, you receive this data set every single week. Every single week, you have to format it like this. It's annoying, it's time consuming, it takes forever. So instead, you say, I'm gonna record a macro, because when I record a macro, then all I have to do is press one little button and this turns into this. It's pretty sweet for things that you do over and over again to save yourself time. All right, so you have this right here. The very first thing you wanna do, obviously, is hit record macro. All right, what are we gonna call this? What's a good name for this? How about sort customer bounces? Now, one of the things that's important is you cannot have spaces for your macros. All right, so if I try to do bounces and hit OK, it wouldn't work. So make sure you have an underscore, something like that. So you should go along with me with this and make sure that you understand what we're doing. But that's the very first thing you do is hit record macro. Now look at the top left. Now it says stop recording. If I hit stop recording, of course, I'm not going to hit that. We haven't done anything yet. So that's what it's doing right now, is it's watching my every move. And so whatever I do for the next couple of minutes, it's going to record it as the macro that we named. All right. So if the very first thing I want to do is I want to create a new column here, so I can put the first and the last name. How would I create a new column? Everyone want to raise their hand and demo to us how do you create a new column in Excel? This is Excel 101, so we all should know how to do this. Yep, Mohammed, I'm going to go ahead and give you the remote, and I want you to model for us and explain how do you create a new column. Go ahead. You have the remote. Can you explain what you're doing, Mohammed?
Basically, double clicking on cells B, and then look for insert, and then say ask what I want entire column.
All right, so you see what he just did there? Thank you, Mohammed. So he just went in, he right-clicked, he pressed insert. I'm gonna go ahead and stop giving you the control. And then he added a whole new column. So now let's go ahead and put first name, last name. All right, now this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Who here knows how to just make this from Jack Smith being column A to Jack being column A, Smith being column B, without manually doing it one by one, because that'd be a little bit annoying. Anybody know how to do that? Someone left the room because it's getting too intense for them. Anyone know how to do that?
Yeah, I could do it. Yeah.
Mohammed, you can do it?
Yeah.
All right, let me give you the remote and show us how it's done.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna select the whole.
So he's grabbing everyone's name.
The next is data.
Data.
I'm looking for text to column.
Yep, you got it. Now look what he's doing here, delimited by the tab, right? So the space, yep, there we go. So the space means it's a new cell. So now look what happened. Jack Smith, first, last name, Brian Ronald, all the way down to Dylan Mitchell. All right, thank you so much, Mohammed. All right, last thing I want to do is I want to highlight the bounce dues that's easy to read. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go home, conditional formatting. All right, she sits on a ribbon. And anything that's greater than 0 is now red. All right, last thing I want to do, just want to enlarge this a little bit so it's easy to read. And now look, this is a lot easier to understand than the very first thing that we saw. Now this is an important step, don't forget this. Now I'm going to hit stop recording. Why did I hit stop recording? Because we did our macro. We did what we wanted to do. So now, dun, dun, dun. Let's go back. All right. So here's our data set. Kind of hard to read, kind of hard to understand. Now, instead of going back and doing all of that again, because that would be really annoying and really cumbersome, what do? I hit my macros. I hit the one that I just made, format customer data. Press OK. Oh, wrong macro. There we go. Wonder why I didn't do the last one though. That's weird. Let's go back. So, but as you can see here, what happened in the previous screen, now we have this new look. I don't know why it didn't do the conditional formatting. There it is. So that's what a macro does. So instead of going back and doing it one by one, and every single time, every single week, you go ahead and record your macro. You have it here. And then it does it for you. All right. So let me go ahead and close this. I don't want to save. We'll do it one more time. Let me open up. All right, just give me a second. So once again, here you are, the end of the week. You're given, the information. You want to go to your macros, developer, macros, format customer data, run, and there it is. So you see how easy that is? So instead of going through every single week and formatting it, doing all this, you record this macro, and now it's done. All right, let's look at the questions. Is the macro being recorded affected by the undo button? If I make a mistake, do I just need to record all over again? Or can I start from step one and just undo? That's a good question, Ashley Ross. To my knowledge, whatever you do while recording the macro is what's going to happen when you press the macro button. So as long as you get the end solution of what you're looking for by the end of the recording, then you should be good to go. But if you make a mistake and you hit the back button, I do not think, to my knowledge, that will affect it. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. Wrong one. I'm going to share with you all what the deliverable is for today. I'm going to give you some time to practice this in real time because the best way to learn is by practicing. All right. So I want you to imagine that you do the same, very similar exercise, but this time it's with a timesheet. So you have your employees here, you have the hours that they worked, and then this is the time clock that you receive from your program. Your boss has requested an easy to read format sheet of their hours worked. That would include their first name in column A, their last name in column B, and then the hours worked in column C. Using conditional formatting, highlight any person who worked over 40 hours so it's easier to track. And you do this task every single week. So you want to record a macro so that you're able to accomplish this task with just the click of a button as opposed to, the stress of doing it by hand every single week. So with that being said, you guys can go over to Schoology. In Schoology, under class resources, there's a sheet called Lesson 1, Macros Practice Sheet. When you have that download, give me a green check.
Sorry, Eric, you said it's under Unit 1?
It's under Unit 3, Macros and More. Yep. And then it's in a yellow folder called Class Resources.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, I got 6 green checks. I'm gonna get up to at least 20. So I know that everybody has it. And I'll share what the deliverable that's due today is. Once again, Schoology, hit this course, Excel, Unit 3, Macros and More, Class Resources, Lesson 1, Macros Practice Sheet. Give you guys one more minute. Give me a green check when you got it. All right, so it looks like we've got 12 people who have it. I'm sure the rest of you will get it here in a moment. But to keep things moving, I'm going to give you about 20 minutes to go ahead and work on this. If you would like some one-on-one help, Ashley, Muhammad, and David, I'm going to assign each of them to a breakout room. Private message me that you want to, go with one of them one-on-one to get some, support on how to do this exercise. If you want to go with other people into a breakout room that isn't Ashley, Muhammad, and David, just some colleagues of yours that you want to work with, let me know. I'll put you in a room with them. The deliverable that's going to be due tonight, though, is this is and also you can't request, I want David. Everyone's private messaging me, they want David. You're very popular, David. So to say, I want to go to a private, I want to go with a Excel Maven, and we'll break it up evenly. And the way your homework is going to be tonight, your deliverable rather, is I want you to write a 1-paragraph essay, just 1 paragraph, 4 sentences, 5 sentences. This is how I did this macro. All right, because I can't look at an Excel sheet and know that you did the macro. That's impossible. All right, you could just go in, change the formatting, and say you did it. And not that anybody here would do that, but I just want to make sure that everyone knows how to do a macro, because I think it's an important tool and resource to utilize. So you're going to spend the next 20 minutes working on that. When we come back, Ashley Ross is going to give us a very quick crash course on the most amazing thing that Excel can do, which is pivot tables. So we're excited for that quick little demo on how to do that. You will not be great on pivot tables, so don't worry about that. It is very advanced, but it is good that you have at least a knowledge of what it is and how it works. So with that being said, I see your comments already coming through. Give me a couple of minutes to get you guys sorted. And if you want to go to a breakout room with some of your colleagues, we can arrange that as well. But you have 20 minutes to go ahead and do the deliverable and then submit your 1 paragraph on how you did it by midnight tonight. So give me a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and get the room sorted out, and we'll see you all at 11:30.
What's up, Eric?
Yes, Usman.
So it's about the discussion board for this week. It's telling us to just go watch videos, but it's not giving us anything else to do.
Yeah, the discussion board is to watch those 4 videos and then comment on what you've learned. I can go back and look at it during this breakout and update it if need be. All right, Excel Mavens, you're all going to have 2 people in the room with you. Hope that's okay. You'll do fine. And if you want to go to a breakout room with your colleagues, just message me privately. Let me know who you want to go with, and I can assign that. So for those of you who requested it, I'm opening the rooms now. All right, looks like everybody's back from the breakout room. We have about 15 more minutes of class to go. I hope that for those of you who worked with our Excel mavens that it was helpful. I apologize in advance to Ashley and to David and to Mohammed. I told them they would only have one person that they were tutoring, and some of them had 2 or 3, and I appreciate that. So thank you. Hopefully it wasn't too much extra stress, but you know, when you're the best in the business, that's what happens. So, all right, let's go ahead and wrap up class. Ashley's going to share here in a moment about pivot tables. Just a real quick crash course lesson on what they do. Just for clarity's sake, it was asked in the chat box, and not everybody heard it because you were in breakout rooms. You do not need to submit your Excel spreadsheet. All you need to submit is a short paragraph, 4 or 5 sentences, how to record the macro, how to do the deliverable. The reason that is because if you send to the Excel spreadsheet, I just can't look at it and know that you did a macro or not. All I see is how the data is formatted. It's not useful. So 4 or 5 sentences in a Word document sent to me on Schoology. This is how I record the macros. This is how I did the deliverable. Also, discussion board like we have every single Monday is due. There's 4 videos to watch. It won't take you longer than 20 minutes to watch all of them, maybe 30, and just comment 2 sentences on which one of these do you find the most useful or beneficial. The one on pivot tables is optional, but I encourage you to watch it as that's an important skill to learn in Excel. So without further ado, Ashley, are you ready to share your 5-minute workshop on how pivot tables work?
Yes, I am.
All right, ma'am, the floor is yours. Let's hear it for Ashley Ross.
Thank you. All right, this is my crash course on Excel pivot tables by me, Ashley Ross. So what are pivot tables? Pivot tables are tables that are used to summarize large sets of data. And you can customize these tables any way that you want. The way you do this is having a data set and then clicking the button that says summarize information in a pivot table. So why are they used? They are used to analyze information and make it easier to read. And they can also help you answer specific questions about your data, such as who has the most sales in the month of February, or who has the most sales overall. If you didn't have a pivot table, you probably need to go through your entire data set, which can be pretty big. So when I say customizable, what do I mean? What I mean is that you can choose categories that you want, and you can exclude information in your data table that isn't relevant to the question that you're trying to ask. And I know all of this sounds really complicated, but I promise you I have examples and a demo to show you. So when I mean irrelevant information, I mean things that don't really have anything to do with what you're trying to answer. So here I have a data set, which looks really complicated because it has so many numbers. But if I wanted to answer the question, who had the most sales for January, the irrelevant information would be the region and also the account number. That doesn't help me to answer any question about who has the most sales for January. And this is an example of a pivot table. So this pivot table is actually using this data set that I showed you here. As you can see, it's much more simple and streamlined vocab words. And it also helps you answer the questions posed, which was, who had the most sales? And I also excluded the irrelevant information from that large data set, which was the region, individual sales, and the account numbers. So you're probably asking, Ashley, what are you talking about? Well, I'm going to show you in this really quick demo that I have prepared for you guys. Okay. Screen share. Here we go. Okay, so This is my data set, which is 40 rows and 4 columns wide. So I'm going to select the entire data, if this thing will let me. Okay, so my data is all selected. And notice how once I selected my data set, a tab came up here called table. So I'm going to click table, and I want to summarize this information in a pivot table. So this is where the magic happens. I'm going to put it on a new worksheet. So I want to know the order amount for each region. What I'm going to do is choose the information that I want on my table, which is region, and also the order amount. So here I can see the orders for each region. Now, what if I wanted to go deeper? I want to know who had the most data. So I'm also going to click on salesperson. But this looks funny. It doesn't really tell me who had the most sales. So what I'm going to do is move the count of the salesperson into the row section. And this is why it's called a pivot table, because you can pivot your information like you would pivot a joint. So this looks much better. So now we can answer the question on who had the most sales. We can see Kathy and East had the most sales of her region. Shannon is a loner. Unfortunately, we need to hire somebody to work in her department. So now let's also ask ourselves another question. If I wanted to give credit to a specific person for a specific month, like let's say I'm giving an award out for the month of January, I want to find out who had the most sales in January. That's where I go ahead and select the month as it being relevant information in this case. But it still looks kind of funny. So I'm also going to pivot this information onto rows. And I can see now the order amounts for each person for each month. So now we can give an award to, let's say, Kathy for February because she had the most sales out of all of the departments. So pivot tables, in short, wrapping up, helps you summarize information, and you can answer questions quickly instead of going through all of this information, trying to find that one person that had the most sales. So this is my favorite Excel function because it's easy and it looks a lot better than this. So thank you guys for attending my crash course on pivot tables. And that's it.
Awesome. Can we show our appreciation to Ashley? Excellent job. So here's the thing, guys, is in my humble opinion, I think pivot tables are the most complex thing you can do in Excel, but they're so important to know. And I don't want you guys to go to internship and be given a data set and being told, okay, go ahead and organize this information using a pivot table. And you'd be like, wait, what is that again? What's that called? What's a pivot table? And I don't want that. All right. I want you to at least have a general working knowledge of how it works. And yes, Ashley made it look easy. And here's the thing. I mean, in all sincerity, Abdul, I was really afraid of pivot tables. They seemed really intimidating. But like everything in Excel, the more you play around with it, the more you realize it's not so bad. You know, it just takes some getting used to, and that's just, you know, the reality. So what I did for all of you, because I want you to practice this is completely up to your own, you know, discretion. And when you feel like doing it, I know you have a lot going on, but I put this sheet on Schoology. So here's a data set. This is even more advanced than Ashley's. This is, let's just go ahead and scroll down here. As you can see here, we're getting up to about 10,000 rows of data, right? A little bit, 10,003 rows of data. Very similar to Ashley's demo to us. You know, this is the regions that they're working on, the products they're selling. So all you need is, if you want to just go in, you know, when you get some time, play around with it, you can grab all the data. Recommended pivot tables is here. It's like, this is one you can just do right away. See, it's already not working for me. But Ashley's a bit better at demoing it than I am. But just go in, play around with it, have some fun with it. Like I said, you're not going to be graded on this. This is just a chance for you to practice. And there's different data sets that you can play around with to build out your pivot tables and make it work for you. All right, so like I said, you look at this and it's overwhelming. How do I even sort through that? Pivot tables are a way to do so. You're not going to be graded on it, like I said, but I do want you to at least have a general idea of what it is. Yes, no longer the pivot table is now called the Ashley table. Okay, love it. All right, so once again, discussion board, get that knocked out tonight. Your paragraph on how you record a macro, get that knocked out. One quick order of business is I do not have office hours today. I'm actually teaching a crash course, project management course to Hudson County Community College students. So I have that this afternoon, but I do have office hours tomorrow. And of course, we have class tomorrow at 9 o'clock as we'll be talking about spark lines. So looking forward to that. And believe it or not, everybody, this is our last week of instruction. Next week is finals already. So it's hard to believe. So today was macros with a little bit of pivot tables in there as well. And then tomorrow is spark lines. Wednesday, we're going to talk about printing. And Thursday, we're going to discuss the final. And that is our week. So any questions in the last 3 minutes before we wrap up?
Can we attend your crash course?
On project management?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys didn't have the crash course. You guys had the real course on project management. You guys are pros. All you're learning is the same thing that I taught. All they're learning is the same thing I taught you. So.
Can we still go though?
No, you cannot still go. Nice try though. All right. Thank you, everybody. It was wonderful as always to be with you, and I'll see you tomorrow at 9.
Bye, Eric.
Eric.
Thank you. Yeah, we have class every day, bro.
Thank you, Eric, for letting me do the crash course. It was fun.
Oh, that was awesome, Ashley. Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's really important to at least have a general idea on how it works, and you did it perfectly. So I took a photo. I'm going to send it to our LC to brag about how good you did.
Oh, shucks. Thanks, Eric. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, see you tomorrow. Thanks, Ashley.
Thanks, Eric. I'll email you later about the virtual coffee.
Sounds good. Look forward to it. Any questions, Moses?